Hello, it's another winter days vlog. Today, except for we're preparing for spring now, so many signs of spring in the garden, so I'm just going to do a very quick little garden tour to show you what's going on in the garden and the plants that I have. It's very exciting. This is a lovely rose bush. As you can see, it's beginning to sprout, and there's some little narcissi tete-a-tete already coming through here. We've got the flower stalk, so that should be out soon. I have some crocus coming out, lovely little gold bulbs, and some more narcissus over here. I have some clematis. No, that's not it. Hopefully it's gonna come out at some point. And that's the crocusma, bit of a weed, and some daffodils over there, and these are some tulips. I have some crocuses on the grass as well. They're so pretty. So as you can see, they're on the grass over there, and some more over here. They'll be blooming soon, and I love these ones. These ones are my favorite. They've got the yellow and the purple. I have them all over. Narcissus. This is the polemon. It's coming out now. It's going to be so pretty. And over here, this is the peony. Lovely big red flowers from the peony. So this section has got a lot of bulbs in it. These ones are tulips, very bright red tulips. These are actually allium globes, so these are quite architectural, very pretty. And it's the same as those ones over there. That's a globe master, which is an allium plant. And over here, this is an ignicia, which is just going to be fabulous when it comes out. That's a rudbeckia over there. It dies back and then it comes out fabulous. So while this section, it looks really dead right now, but it has a lot of bulbs that are just going to come through. And the other thing that's on here is this is aquilegia, and this is just gonna grow so big with like beautiful little flower spikes. There's some more tulips over there and some more daffodils coming up, but I have to rework this section basically, because I wasn't too happy with it last year, and yeah, it needs some work. This is the campanula, or Canterbury bells. They're beginning to fluff up again, and they will be gorgeous. You can see the roses over here. Beginning to sprout. And over here, this one's called sedum, and I love this because I have to cut it back. You can see this got cut back, but then it starts off again and it just grows really big and really huge. The hellebore is already out. This is a wonderful shade loving plant. Some lovely flowers. This area here needs a lot of work, a lot of work. These are the raspberry canes. They're already beginning to shoot. So today's job, I have to move these bulbs over here from the storage area over to where the patio is. So that's my job. Yeah, now here there's already an anemone that's come out amongst the tulips. As we begin to look for signs of spring, our pond is the nature's calendar that we turn to. From January onwards, we start to keep an eye on the pond because a sure sign of spring is when the frogs come back to mate and to make frog spawn. So we always keep an eye on it, and it's always fun to find who's the first one to spot the frog spawn. And it's very exciting when we see the clumps of jelly-like eggs that take over the pond before they spawn into fun little tadpoles and eventually becoming nice little common frogs that then go off, and they'll come back again in 2 to 3 years to respawn. And it's become a part of our nature cycle that we use to determine when spring is truly upon us. Last year, it was a bit earlier than usual, and so the frogs haven't come back at the same time that they did last year. But we'll be keeping an eye out for them. This is the camellia. See all of these buds. They're just going to explode into bloom. And this is going to be covered in pinks. The grape hyacinth is already beginning to form. These weeds out. Yeah, this one is a pink hyacinth called Kronos. It was really beautiful last year. When it was time for lunch, I always like to have a soup on the go. And currently, I have in my Instant Pot a chicken soup, which was made with some carrots and some butternut squash and cauliflower, as well as some chicken stock, and it's a really delicious, very wholesome meal and very hearty and warming on this slightly cold day. So it's been another long day. I've just finished making some dresses for my girls that I had been wanting to make. I started the project probably about a month or so ago, and yeah, so now that they're done, happy bunnies. Yeah. And yeah, so today I spent a bit of time in the garden because we've been having some pretty rainy weather of late, which is always quite challenging. It's just like gray and raining all the time. And this was the first day that we had in nearly a week where there was a nice break and there was nice weather. So I tried to move things around that I needed to move around and to see what's what. And so I've ordered some snowdrops. I ordered 200 snowdrops in the green, which should be here either tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. And the benefit of ordering them in the green is that I can see the little pockets and spots where I want to put them in. So I'm really hoping that they will be here very soon and hoping for some decent weather so that I can plant them out. It's not a good idea to plant them out when it's too wet and muddy, so to speak. And then the other thing that I need to get is some spring planting onions and spring planting garlic. So currently we have overwintering onions and garlics growing at the moment. And then so I'm shopping from, I like to use Marshall Gardens. And so they send out this little book of seeds, which arrives in January, and it's just the perfect time. And so I've been scrolling through it and circling the things that I want to get. So this year I will be planting out some kale. So we do a crop rotation, and that's because it's not a good idea to grow the same crop in the same place. Apparently, it's just good practice to rotate them. And so I hadn't done any kale last year because I'd been growing kale for nearly 4 consecutive years. And so it needed to be changed. But I'm going to get kale because the wonderful thing about kale is you can have it throughout winter. It's quite hardy, so no matter how cold or snowy it gets, it's still there. So I'm getting some kale, some carrots, some French beans. Last year we had great success with courgettes and cucumbers, so I am going to be getting that as well. I might plant out some tomatoes in tubs. I don't know. I'll see about that. But I also want to try some mange tout, because that's my favorite type of peas. My mom always used to grow these when I was a kid, and we just used to eat them like candies. We just go into the garden and we just be picking them and eating them like candies. So I'm going to see if I can replicate that with my kids this year. So I've had a lot of fun actually creating my order for the seeds, and also there's flower seeds. I always grow sweet peas. I love to grow sweet peas from seed. They're so easy and they're so beautiful and fragrant. So I've got sweet peas. I'm going to try chrysanthemums this year, because I think chrysanthemums are so beautiful. And so I'm going to have a go at growing chrysanthemums this year. And marigolds. I always have pots and pots and pots of marigolds everywhere. I'll just have pots of marigolds everywhere, and asters as well. I like to grow those from seed, and they do tend to grow really well from seed. What else did I get for flower seeds? Right. I think, yeah, I'm going to also try growing cosmos. So last year I went to visit a friend who had a garden, and they just had some cosmos plants, and they just looked so beautiful. They were pinks and whites. So they have here Cosmo Vegas mix, which has just got the pinks and the reds and the whites. So I'm going to try, I am going to try those this year and see how I get on with it. But when we start to see signs of spring like this, with the crocuses coming out and the daffodils beginning to open their little trumpets, much like the tree sap is beginning to rise, I get really, really excited. And I'm just like, oh, yes, it's really, really awesome. And then now I have to go and cook. I'm doing a bolognese, so sort of like a pasta bolognese sauce. I'm not using spaghetti. I'm going to be using pasta, and I'm just going to do something that's going to go into a tin, and it will go into the oven, and then it will come out, and it will be easy to eat. But first, we're going to get the fire going, because temperatures have dropped by about 5 degrees. So I am feeling it. Okay, I will see you later with my little seed book.
Dinner was a pasta bolognese sauce, which I like to make by sauteing the onions separately to just browning the mincemeat. So I'm making a double batch here so that I'll have some leftovers to make another meal. And to the sauteed onions, I will add some passata and some chopped tomatoes. The chopped tomatoes just give it a bit more texture versus using the passata, but you could also use the passata sauce just with this. And I also like to add copious amounts of oregano, because it gives it a really lovely flavor. And just to bulk it out a bit, I'll add some of these frozen mixed vegetables that I normally get from Aldi. So I will add everything that I have sauteed with the onions and tomato-based sauce into the browned meat, as well as the passata. And I will just mix that and leave that to simmer for about 10 to 15 minutes or so. It's a very easy meal to make, and I do love making this. The frozen vegetables, I actually boil those separately, so I'll just boil them for a couple of minutes just to basically defrost them before I then add them to the mix. I've just found that this works out better than adding them frozen, because then it reduces the thermal capacity, and then it has to get up to temperature again, leading to things being overcooked. So I find that this just works best for us. And we served it with some penne pasta, and just, it was such a delicious meal, served with some grated parmesan. The kids love this, and it goes down really well. And there's enough there left over for me to make a cottage pie with it for another meal next week. So it's a win-win. Thank you so much for visiting with us today. And until I see you next time, I wish you blue skies, health, and happiness. Bye.